Well, joining us now to break down the highlights of the summit is Jorge Heine. He's research professor at the Pardee School of Global Studies at Boston University and former Chilean ambassador to China. Good to have you on the program, sir.
Good evening. Good delight to be with you.
Wonderful. So I want to start with this joint declaration, Ambassador, to help tackle regional migration. How much teeth does it have? And does it matter that the presidents of, as we heard, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, all crucial in stemming migration flows, boycotted this meeting?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. Now, what is important to understand is that, those countries, the presidents were not there, but the foreign ministers were there, and they signed this declaration and, obviously shared in the contents of it. Migration is a very serious issue, and what is interesting is that perhaps for the first time in a number of years, it is not just a critical issue for the United States, it is also a critical issue for many Latin American countries. With 6 million Venezuelans having left Venezuela, many countries in South America and in Central America are facing the challenge, I think, to deal with hundreds of thousands, in some cases over 1 million Venezuelans. What do you do with them? So it's a real issue. It's a concern throughout the Americas. It needs to be addressed. In that sense, it seems to me this is a welcome development, looking for ways in which the United States, on the one hand, can help countries with funds to deal with that and hopefully avoid even further migrations up north.
Right. And during his address, U.S. President Joe Biden, as host, talked about the similarities of all the nations there and their unity. How unified is this hemisphere exactly?
Well, it is not exactly unified. There are significant differences. There are two separate issues, I would say. One of them is that Latin America, unfortunately, is not very coordinated right now. Regional institutions are quite weak. UNASUR no longer exists. There is CELAC that is also very weak, that on the one hand. And on the other hand, that's, I would say, is a big concern. Pan-American institutions, inter-American institutions are also going through a bad patch. The OIS has lost quite a bit of legitimacy. The Inter-American Development Bank is for the first time not headed by a Latin American, and indeed, the president of the bank was not at the summit in the Americas for a variety of reasons. And the summit itself, for the first time, it had only 23 participants. To give you an idea, leaders from countries in the Americas. In Panama in 2015, there were 34 leaders out of 35. So there are some serious issues and serious divisions in the Americas. It is something we have to confront and work to overcome.
And to build on that point, Ambassador, how much influence does the U.S. still have in the Western Hemisphere, or is its role increasingly being replaced by China?
Well, I would say the following. It is obvious from the fact that, the large number of no-shows in Los Angeles in terms of country leaders indicates that the influence of the United States no longer is what it was in the 1990s when the summits of the Americas were initially launched. So that is a real question. And I would argue that what the United States must do is to come up with solutions. Latin America right now is going through a very serious crisis. The Americas as a whole, and Latin America in particular, were and are still ground zero of the pandemic. 2.7 million people have died of COVID in the Americas since the beginning of the pandemic, more than any other region in the world. 1.7 million in Latin America, 1 million in the United States. There is a serious economic slowdown. In Chile, projections are this year the country will only grow somewhere between 1.3, 1.5%. So there are some serious issues. And it seems to me the United States must make a serious effort to help the region confront these issues.
All very interesting indeed. Jorge Heine is a research professor at Boston University and former Chilean ambassador to China. We thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.